traditional games versus blockchain games. How are they similar? How are they different? In general, the key concept is not that different. You're creating complex games where people come in, interact, play together. They either continue to explore the world that you have built or they leave to join another game. That notion alone is not very different. Now, there's one key difference, one major difference between blockchain games and traditional games that people have to think about, which makes blockchain game a lot more complex. And then there are other little differences that I will explain as well. So, what is the major difference? The major difference, number one, is that blockchain games allow people to use their tokens or their assets that they have created or they have earned to be exchanged for fiat. Now, you're going to say, no, but a lot of other games you have gray markets or black markets and sometimes even the marketplace that you can trade and exchange assets. Yeah, sure. I agree with that. It takes a lot more to be trading with other people on either white or gray markets, sometimes even black market, to be trading and exchanging your game assets or your game tokens or exchanging the accounts or selling the accounts. Sometimes these games block that. Sometimes they allow for that to happen. That being said, yes, with traditional games, you can sell your assets. However, in blockchain games, that is by default. The tokens you win or you earn or you play game and you collect, you can change them for fiat, or you can use the tokens that you have to create assets like different kind of land or different kind of digital properties in the digital world, and you can sell them for cash, or you can sell them for a currency that can be exchanged for cash. So that is the biggest difference. And what is the implication to that? This is key. The implication is that with everything in life, with every decision people make, there's this thing called opportunity cost. That means if someone were to earn $10 worth of tokens through games, they can either take this $10, change it to fiat and use it in, let's say, Indonesia or Malaysia or the Philippines, or they can take this $10 and continue playing in the game. And this is where the trick lies. If the opportunity cost, if the value given to the token, the $10 worth of token holders is much higher to liquidate that and keep it to fiat because that's higher than the daily wages of that country, then this individual is more likely to play the game, cash it out, and then use that $10 in the physical economy. As opposed to in the traditional games, you don't have that luxury. It takes more time, it takes a longer process to do that, and so you by default kind of pull people more towards the game. And what does that mean? How does that affect gameplay? How does that affect the economy of the game? It's very simple. With traditional game, it's more of a closed loop. When things are being created, they continue being added back into your economy, and then the key thing is gameplay, complex, exciting gameplay to get people in your game, to get people excited to continuously play in your game. Whereas in blockchain games, this is where the complexity lies, because not only do you have to fix your gameplay right, you also have to fix your economy right. Because there is this new economic activity, which is people transferring their tokens or their asset into fiat, which is a new aspects of economics you have to think about. It's not just your internal monetary policy where we have in traditional games, but you now need to think of cross-border payment. You need to think of FX. You need to think of treasury management when you allow your economy to be open to the physical, real, in quotation, real world. And that's the biggest difference. And that becomes key when trying to manage your economy, because this is not something that you can fix, wash your hands and go. This is something that we need to balance, we need to maintain, we need to constantly check what's going on. So this is the biggest difference. In conclusion, the biggest difference is that now with blockchain games, you have to think of international balances, cross-border payment, foreign exchange rates. So this is a new dimension of complexity that's added to the economics. Gameplay itself is already very complicated. If you add the economics in place, it increases the complexity, and so it's a lot harder to nail down. So that's the biggest difference. What about some other differences? I want to talk about two other differences. So the first difference is that with traditional games, you have a lot of different game modes. You have free to play, you have pay to win, you have flash games, simple game, complex games, different types of game styles. And they all work because you have different kind of business models there. With blockchain games, because we need to start thinking about the international balance of payments, you have to think of foreign exchange, then this adds the complexity in which it limits the kind of gameplay and game types in blockchain games. In blockchain games, to conclude, you just need to have very complex games. Flash games don't work, simple games don't work. Games where all you try to do is get a lot of people in and then you sell ads, those do not work in blockchain games. For more details, go check out all the other videos that I've written and also the big P2E report I've written with a bunch of very, very bright people. So for blockchain games, it reduces the gameplay mood. It needs to be very complex games. Think of EVE Online, that complexity. That's what we need. And thirdly, what are some considerations and difference between blockchain game and traditional games? Well, with traditional games, it's a little proxy to figure out how to manage monetary policy, how to manage your ecosystem. And for these game designers, usually you take concepts from central banks, you take concepts from the physical world we have today. So my thesis is that with blockchain games, it changes everything. Firstly, blockchain games are complex models. We talked about the second difference is that blockchain games need to be complex. And what is complexity? Complexity is basically the physical world that we are in today. UGC in digital blockchain games is basically someone starting up their own business and their own company in the physical world. So you have a lot of similarities in that. And what does that mean? I see blockchain games as a smaller subset of an economy. And here we have complexity, we have UGC, we have different types of asset classes, we have different types of classes of wealth coming into the game. And people naturally, voluntarily come in to interact, play, and then they need to cash out or they need to continuously play to get more tokens to advance in the game. So it's like a proxy of this physical world that we're in. And that's fascinating because today, with all of these interactions on blockchain, we can start capturing the data, we can start measuring the interactions, we can start understanding the behaviors of people when we have different kind of incentives or economic policies in place. And now that just blows my mind because this is the best perfect study where we can understand and abstract how people behave in general, in aggregate, given different kind of constraints. And imagine we can start implementing this in the economy that we have today, the physical economy that we have. And that's fascinating. So I know there's some arguments saying that, gamers not creating value, not doing anything. I disagree. I think gamers are one of the most valuable assets that we have in the world, in this universe, to be able to experiment and try these different games so that we can start researching and understanding how people behave. And then we can turn this into proper economic policies. And when we can combine theoretical, analytical work and economic theory from, let's say, money theorists, and then we can implement them in this small little ecosystem to test them out in natural experiments and reward people with tokens and which they can cash out as money after that. Then we can implement these policies in the physical world. How amazing is that? So to conclude, these are the three differences between blockchain game and traditional games. The first one is that with blockchain games, you have to think about foreign exchange. You have to think about international balance of payments. The second thing is that blockchain games, it only caters to a smaller subset of games. It needs to be complex games. And lastly, blockchain games can add a lot of value in helping us figure out the bigger economy that we have of tomorrow. So with that, that's the difference between blockchain games and traditional games. See you in the next episode. Bye.
Thank you so much for staying throughout this entire video. If you're interested to learn more and you want to join the community, do check out our Discord, check out our Academy, and you get to watch these videos for free as well, without any ads. And also grab the book that I've talked about earlier on. The book summarizes a lot of what we're trying to build, what we're trying to design, and the different aspects that can be changed during the entire design process. We also just launched Econteric. Econteric is really economics plus esoteric because this space is so complicated and so difficult. What we want to do is to make it easier for anyone to come and learn and be part of this system. So in Econteric, we are breaking down the different analytics and different data to give you more insights to understand the robustness from a very fundamental level of the health of this ecosystem. So check out econteric.com and I'll see you there. Bye!